Hi, my name is Niek, and welcome to my bedroom.
And my name is Silke, I am your host, and this is How Was It, the podcast about sex and sexualities. And let's dive into bed. So now we're in bed. I think it would be interesting to state at first that we have known each other for a very, very long time.
Yes, I think since I was like 11 or maybe 12, like somewhere in between. I was still at least in elementary school, for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was the same for you, actually.
I was trying to think of the first memory I have of you, but I don't have it.
I do have one, actually, and it's actually applicable to this, but I'm not sure if they're like the first one, but it is the first one that sticks to me. When we were doing like Across the Line with our like Bible study group, and we've asked at the group, have you ever been doubting your sexuality? You were the only one who actually were.
Wow.
Of the only one of us, which was a really fun thing. Like, I didn't even know what a sexuality was back then. So that's actually pretty funny.
That's so nice. I didn't remember that. Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we know each other from church.
For a long time, yes.
Yeah, we both went to the same church when we were children.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here. I've already talked a little bit about my experience with Christianity in the first episode. But how was it for you growing up in church? And because you just said like you didn't even know what sexuality was.
Yeah, exactly.
So how
good
was
one.
it to?
I'll just start because I did go to another church before. Like I went to the one we met each other at. I was at a reformatory church at First Line, which is like a really conservative church in the Netherlands. And I don't really remember a lot of that, but it's just that things about like gender and sexuality are pretty much unspoken. And even if they were talked about, it's mostly traditional. But I was a kid and I didn't pay any attention during like sermons. But when I finally gained like sentience when I was like 11 or 12 and finally...
What? You gained what?
Yeah, like sentience, like I actually at first started remembering stuff and I actually started thinking about things in life.
Yeah, okay.
So when you start going to like high school, I do think like when I first started... Well, I don't know actually. I also went to like a really Christian school as well, so... Until I was 14 years old, maybe, I was not thinking about it at all. Only until I was like maybe 15 or 16 years old. I think my relationship with the church and religion in general has been strenuous at worst and okay at best.
What
Only
do you mean
afterwards,
with it? Like practically what?
Well, I think I mean in a sense of I did not even have room to think about what I was or who I was until I finally like left or stopped going to the church.
Yeah.
Before that, I wasn't even aware of those things that were actually happening because I don't know actually why it happened. And only in retrospect, because I'm 23 years old right now, I'm finally starting to see things through a different lens and at least can look a bit more objectively. So right now, I'm 23, and basically for most of my teenage years, I have a like really bad gender dysphoria for like a really long time. But I did not speak to anyone about it because...
How did you experience that?
I think it was mostly just gender envy. Whenever I looked at... I never really felt comfortable being like perceived as male, I think. But it was also like you never speak about it. So you don't know that's like abnormal or kind of, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It is abnormal in the sense of like a religious view, because in most religious views, a Christian at least, there's man and woman and nothing in between.
Yeah, and also within the the bubble of Christianity, like the Bible groups. It was always very separated. Not always, but like there were always guys have to do this and girls have to do this, and like we have a girl group and we have a guy group.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's
like
very separated.
I can't remember. I believe you on your word. Like I know about like Teen Street, which is like the massive Christian camp in Germany, which like 4,000 teenagers go to for like a week to praise Jesus. Basically, it's an indoctrination camp. For lack of a better term, it was also extremely fun.
We loved it.
We loved it. I have very fond memories of it.
Yeah.
But it was also really separated by gender.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't thought about that for me, but it might have felt weird to always be put in that group.
Yes, exactly. It's also because when I finally, it was not a conscious decision to leave the church. I just did not go anymore because, why would I? I did not really have that much affinity with it whatsoever. Finally, in the final years of my teenage years, and I started working, and I just had not that much time. I couldn't be bothered. I didn't care, and only until I went to live on my own, and actually started acquainting myself with people I want to acquaint myself with.
Yeah, which was like 2 years ago. How long ago?
Yes, coming January, it's 2 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly. And 2 years, actually? Yes, 2 years. Crazy. Feels way longer than that. Mindfuck. Anyway, I started acquainting myself also with people from university and other people who were like a bit more progressive, I guess, and just people with nice vibes. And people with nice vibes tended to be a bit more leaning towards like LGBT stuff, which was crazy to me because I never really was acquainted with them in the first place, because I came from like a very it wasn't conservative where you came from, but it was like really traditional.
Yeah,
like I think you can agree that like it was at least trying to be a bit progressive, but within like the Christian denomination.
Yes, but you were definitely slaying the most in our
like looking back at like what I told you first, like across the line, step across the line. Have you ever doubted about your sexuality? Looking back right now, yes, I definitely had, but I wasn't even sure what those words were back then.
Yeah.
But looking back, if I were in a position back then again, I would definitely have stepped across the line, not just you.
Yeah.
But yes, like in retrospect, it all makes sense. When I finally found out that I just was not really that comfortable using solely like male gender terms and words, that it just made a bit more sense to me how I felt like basically my entire teenage life.
So now you've been living on your own for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
What would you say your identity is now, if you can give it words?
It's difficult because I have been thinking about how to give it words, but it's something to describe me, but not something that identifies me. Like of course, like I still present mostly male, and that's fine, depending on setting, of course. But sometimes when I go out for a party, I just prefer not being perceived as male, for example, and I usually like ask people to refer to me with other pronouns instead of like he, him, but I'm still completely fine with those. It's just something that describes me, that not identifies me. And I do feel flattered when someone uses like other pronouns like he, him for me, other than he, him.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult for me to really describe, but because a term that's been thrown out a lot, usually like in derogatory terms, is like effeminates. But I think that's what's best describes me, even though it's usually used as a slur or a pejorative at least.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But looking up, perhaps you can. What do you think about that? Like, you think? Have you looked it up afterwards? Like after I send you to it? Yeah.
Yeah, just quickly. So yeah, it from what I read, if I read it like remember correctly, it's like you're a man with feminine.
Mm-hmm. It usually just means like
energy.
there's character energies, but yes. Yes, it is difficult to describe still for me, and I'm not really sure myself. I'm not really sure myself. It's like it's a learning journey. It's a progress.
Do you? Are you like really searching for a label, or are you like?
No, not really.
I don't need this label.
I don't need a label. Perhaps I'll finally settle on a label, but currently I'm not. Okay, perhaps I am looking, but not as thoroughly as I once was. And it's something that's just not important to me. You have like in some spaces, like having a lot of gender identity is like something that describes like like an identity. But for me, it's like I said, it's a descriptive factor, and I really don't care. So in the ideal world, we wouldn't need like gender or pronouns, but we don't live in an ideal world. No. So that's the way I've looked at it for like a long time now.
All right. And how about your sexuality?
Well, that's something I found out a lot earlier before I wanted to live on my own. Like when I was 18 or 19 years old, I pretty much already knew that I was bisexual, which also coincided with having less gender dysphoria, because I think still like I had internalized like traditional values, like if you like men, you have to be female, and that is maybe something I internalized because as gender dysphoria. But when I found out, oh wait, this is a thing, even though I already knew long about it, but started to think about it myself and to apply it to myself, it starts to make a little more sense. But I was still way too scared to come out to my parents, and I've never actually came out explicitly to my dad, but he just assumed. And to my mom, it was a really funny story because I was so scared that she would judge me. So I just dropped it like, oh yeah, like a couple of weeks ago I had a date with this cute guy, and she was like, a cute guy? Are you gay? So, no, I'm bisexual. Wait, really? Like, yeah, I told you like a couple months ago, right? No, I didn't. But I actually did not tell her. I did not tell her. So I made her feel bad because I was too scared to tell her, and I still need to tell her one time. But that will come sooner or later.
Yeah, she'll probably be happy to.
Yeah, probably, but I was like 19 years old, and when you're 19 years old and still living with your parents, it's a bit more scary.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So your dad, you just hadn't told him, or?
I still haven't really told him with that many words, like, I'm bisexual, but...
How did he, because you said he assumed, but like how did he assume?
Because I make jokes about it. I casually dropped that I've like kissed a guy before, and my dad is like a bit, I'm not sure what the English word for it, they're like pruts. Whenever I just talk about like our sex or whatever, anything, he'll just like shun, like, oh, I don't need to talk about it right now. He's not really into talking about stuff like that, but I am with my mum. And so I did not see the reason to tell him because he doesn't care. Yeah. And my mother does, so that's why.
Are your parents still Christian?
In theory, yes. In practice, absolutely not.
Would they judge you because they're like Christian or something?
Absolutely
or
not.
Just
like quite the contrary from my mum, actually. So my mum has done, for example, my makeup a lot of times, which she really prides herself on. Like, oh my God, I'm so proud of my son, because I have not come out to them. Like, I do not prefer to be like called male. My mom was really proud of the first time she ever puts makeup on me, and she said like, oh my God, that's so cool. It's so against gender norms, and I'm so happy for you that you're breaking those rules, and it's really great. Yeah, but. Yes.
But why don't you tell her then?
That what?
That you're not her son.
I don't think she'll understand. Like, because she has met plenty of people who are like gay or bisexual or asexual, for example. But I think because she's still like a Gen X, and it's a lot more common in like millennials and Gen Z than compared to Gen X. And perhaps I'll tell her, but just don't think it's the time just yet. It's not a secret. If she'll ask, I'll definitely tell her. And I'll just drop some hints along the way. But I don't see a reason to tell her just explicitly because it just costs a lot of energy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I'll likely have to explain everything about it, and while that's fine, in general, when I'm with my mom, I already spent too much energy to be social in general. So I just prefer to keep it cordial.
Sure. It's this. Yeah. So since we both grew up in the same church and we're both at least queer, and
yes,
just very
somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah. Also that. Yeah.
Pun intended. Amazing.
What do you think is the impact of the church? Like, do you think that because we went to church we're now gay, or is it like, what's
It's a good question. I thought about it myself as well. I think at least the church as an institution, because we also went like to Bible study groups together, at least influenced the way I think, because I didn't know what a sexuality was. Like I didn't even know what the word is. Like on a linguistic level, I did not know what it was.
Do you think? I mean, we can't say because we both went to church, but do you think that's because of church that we didn't know that word, or that you didn't know that word, or is it just...
I didn't know the meaning, and I think the church might have played a role in it, but I don't think it's the sole reason.
Yeah.
It at least delayed my journey to explore gender and sexuality by a long shot, because I've already, like I said, like I had gender dysphoria, and I've likely been bisexual my entire life, probably, but I'm not really that sure.
Do you think that you become bisexual?
Yeah, but at least coming out of the closet is a bit problematic, of course, as a term. But I think at least that, well, perhaps I never thought about it that way. Perhaps you could be like, because of the church as well, that's because it's not normal that you don't think about it that much. But I never really gave it that much of a thought. So perhaps that's why.
Yeah.
But I think,
but do you
at least
think
coming out of a realization that, oh, wait, this is called bisexuality, or that I am just that, would have come earlier if I did not go to the church, for example.
All right, yeah. But you do think that you are born this way, but you just didn't realize it because...
Yes, I think the most important thing about this is the realization aspects.
Yeah.
And like, oh wait, that's me. Like reading something and you can apply it to yourself. And perhaps like it at least delayed it because, well, I've been attracted to men as well since I was at least 13. That's at least the longest I can, the earliest I can remember. Likely before that as well, but it just did not click in my head.
Do you remember the first guy you were attracted to?
Yes, it's an actor. But I would have to look it up because I completely forgot his name. It was like at least in a movie which was really bad. And also things and also I think seeing Robert Pattinson in Twilight was also a bit of a hint. I was like, oh my god, this... but I did not know what it was. And afterwards, like, wait, like just that.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment in your transition, so from like finding out you're bisexual and then like living by yourself and finding your gender identity, where you've just felt really uncomfortable or like...
Yes, I have. Not that much and not that long because I was already in a network of queer people as well, which, well, it was just normal there.
Also, yeah, so that's but also at home when you like...
Yes, but back then I still lived at home, so that's like the thing that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because like I've never been. My parents are quite tolerant, and it's not like they would not accept me being like gender queer, but they just wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
It's not physically grabbable like a bisexuality, bisexuality as a term is, and they just don't care. as long as I'm happy.
Yes.
But I was a bit scared with like grandparents, for example, which are a lot more conservative.
Yeah. That's. But you were saying that in Utrecht you had like a nice bubble, so you didn't. Did you feel uncomfortable there as well, like figuring it out, or was it just?
No, it actually like incentivized me to think about it more oftenly, because like all my friends told me things as well. Like they told me how they felt back then, because when they still were in a closet per se, and I thought like this is somewhat applicable to me as well. That's the reason when I first started thinking about like gender, even though by then I already pretty much figured out my sexuality, so that was not that much of a big deal.
Do you often talk about your Christian path, like in Utrecht, or?
Sometimes, but as a shock value factor.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I was raised reformatory, and they're like, what? No way. How come? Because think of something like the devil would invent. I have done it. So that's like I'm quite the antithesis of like what a good Christian would be, I think. Even though I'm not like evil or something, but if it's like
Probably in some Christian minds.
yeah, probably in
there
some
you are.
Christian minds, it's like I'm not a devil, but someone who has strayed too far from God's path.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
you think it's funny to.
Since what?
But you think it's funny to.
Yes, I think it's
emphasize
funny
that,
because
yeah?
I consider myself quite the opposite of like what a good Christian would be.
Yeah.
And it's not that long ago since I've like actually renounced my Christianity at like the actual church. It was like 2 years ago.
Oh,
Only
God.
until after I like moved to Utrecht.
I've never done that.
I just thought about it. Oh yeah, wait, of course.
Yeah. Did you think that was important to do that, to like really write yourself out of the church?
When I was doing it, not really, because I was doing like at the dentist, at the general practitioners, at the hospital I was with. It just seemed like the thing to do when I was moving from Ommen to Utrecht. And only afterwards I thought about it more often. I thought like maybe it was more of a significant thing than I thought. But I've never really thought about it that much, and perhaps I could give it another thought. But in general, I don't think it left that much of an impact, but it is more of a culmination of the things I was going through in a different phase of my life.
Yeah. All right. Enough about your past. How's your dating life? What do you like dating?
Okay, so give me one specific question, like the thing.
How's your dating life?
How is my dating life? I'm currently in a committed relationship with my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend, of course. It's what is it? How do I say this? Like, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm just in a relationship,
What
and
do you
I've
mean
been
with committed?
committed. That's a good question, actually. It's well, insofar we are in a monogamous relationship, that's true, but it's also like we have like what's the word for it again? Agreements with many other people, and currently we still are not looking for anything else. But we've already spoken about when we first started dating that if either of us have something they would like to try or want to do something else, we can of course talk about it. But so far, it's still like a really short relationship. Like last Wednesday, we celebrated our first 3 months together. So we have not had the need to think about anything else because it's still short time. But perhaps maybe in the future. I'm not sure about it just yet, but at least we can talk about a lot of things, and like a lot of things are possibly possible, maybe possible, but sure. I haven't given much thought yet because I haven't found a need for it yet.
All right, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're dating a woman,
mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're missing out on dig, basically, or
good question. Like this is also a thing like we spoke about. So far, no. It's like, and perhaps she'll give the same example. It's like having a favorite, like a food which you sometimes like, but not eat all the time. But you can pretty much go without. Like I can pretty much go without peanut butter if I want to. Do I like it? Yeah, sure. But it's not like I need it for the rest of my life. I can easily go without it. And
Could not.
okay, it could be with jam. It could be with cheese. Name it. It's just an example. You know
That
it.
example.
Okay, for you maybe, but not for me.
Yes.
Um,
Okay, so that also, yeah.
but at least, yes, I know you brought like a big tub of peanut butter when you went hiking into the Pyrenees.
Yeah. I was thinking you were gonna say that I would like a big penis, but you said peanut butter and
Of course, yeah.
Anyways.
I was still
So-
talking about the penis butter because I'm a bit more holy. Not holy, but
Wow.
like no. You were like a little bit more innocent than you are, perhaps. Don't think so, but still, in some cases maybe. But that's the case. I can easily go without, and perhaps sometimes I feel like having. I feel like wanting dick, or maybe want some peanut butter, and we can just talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yeah,
We can
so
just
it's-
talk about
yeah.
it, and then we can just come to a conclusion with
Yeah.
together.
That must feel nice.
Yes, it does feel nice, and it's something that I'm actually that's one of the great things about a relationship. I think that we can just talk about everything without feeling like you're walking on eggshells, because in some relationship you might have it with such cases.
How did you meet her?
Okay, so I met her ex-boyfriend on Twitter when we were talking about really obscure music, and he and I just hit off talking about music.
Yeah. What
And
kind of music?
like the weirdest music you can imagine, like noise, grindcore, really dark ambient
got it.
music, like weird stuff. But we were specifically talking. We started talking was about psychedelic Turkish folk music from a band named Altingun. But you can forget it. It's really good. But it's also really niche.
We'll put a link in the bio for anyone
Link in
that's
the bio.
interested.
I'll just send an album just later. But we can just keep talking, and I'm not really sure how I went on to meet her then. But I just know that he's the link between us.
Yeah.
And when I finally met both of them, or just them separately, I immediately found out that I liked talking to her way more than I was like talking to him, because we both have autism, and that's a thing that we can both share our thoughts on, and we have a lot of the same perception of a lot of things. So we're just on the same wavelength, and that's great. So I've known her for like at least 2.5 years. A really long time. We've been good friends for at least 1.5 years.
Okay, so enough about dating. When was the last time you had sex, and how was it?
Today's Monday, so it was yesterday, and it was great. And I was, like I said, on Friday I went out with my girlfriend, and we spent like Saturday and Sunday morning recuperating afterwards, because we were absolutely tired, like disastrously tired. So we just spent the day together, which is always great because I love spending
Cozy.
time. And yes, like we had sex, and it was just, besides being that it was just good, it was also like one of the more romantic ones, which was also a thing that I really enjoy. Like the more emotion, the better it is.
What made it romantic?
I'm not sure. It's just that we kept looking each other in the eyes and kept just smiling because the other ones were smiling, and we kept each looking each other in the eye. And I don't know really why, but it just made me feel really good. It gave me really sense of euphoria as well. Which is just, yeah, it is really cute, and that's what I like about it. Like I'm really clingy, I'm really affectionate, so that's something I enjoy. I enjoy feeling things
Yeah.
and feeling emotions. So it was just Great. Yes.
Was it vanilla sex? How?
Um,
What?
I just asked her beforehand, like one of the first time ever, just could you take the lead this time? And she just said like, yes, gladly, which was great. It's like normally it's just like vanilla sex, and which is fun, but also trying something different for like one of the first times when you're finally comfortable with each other is just the best.
Yeah.
And that's something I really enjoyed, just going into that mental aspect as well with someone you especially love and someone who you really care about. And you could just feel like the affection coming from every single thing that they do, even though you might not like it in the moment.
You're so cute. I'm gonna cry. No,
But yes,
nice.
it's affectionate even when teasing, and it's just
So what would
one
you
of the thing.
rate it?
Like a solid 9 or even 9.5 out of 10. Like it's probably like last weekend. Like you ask about the last time and not like the last weekend. So hence I can only give it a 9.5.
What do you mean?
Well, like when we spent the Saturday like recovering after we went out on Friday nights,
Yeah.
it was probably the best I have ever had. It was unbelievable. And I still don't really know how that happened. But we were just both of us really into it without any reason. While we were absolutely exhausted, like my heart was still racing when I was with her, and that was just unbelievable. Yes, I cannot put it any other way. And
What made it that?
I don't know. Seriously. Perhaps it was drugs. Yes, I know what you're pointing at, but I don't think it would be because I already have like been. It was not. It had already worked out, so it couldn't be. But it was still like it could have been because I felt so much energy and love, like when I was dancing with her, that I was that
Just had a lot of
affectionate.
foreplay.
Perhaps, like maybe that, and also because like I felt a lot of love and energy when I was around her, and when I finally could spend time together with her, just cuddling and kissing each other, that it was also like an epiphany, for example. And it was also after we were not ghastly tired anymore and have actually eaten something. But speaking of like the last time, like this was the best I have ever had in my life, which is like a big thing to say, but it all is also true. And like yesterday was just fantastic. So that's why a 9 and a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10.
Nice.
And it was just affectionate, which is just great.
So nice how you're just. I want that too. No, I'm not jealous.
You can be envious, but not jealous.
Envious, yes. Okay, so now we're gonna move to some rapid fire questions.
Hit me.
So I'm gonna say some statements or ask some questions, and you can just quickly answer. If you want to say a little bit more about it, you can.
Okay.
But
hit me.
Yeah. Okay. Who gives the best head?
I do. I know, but it. Okay, just yes.
Well, I was gonna ask cause you like guys or girls or in betweens or.
Oh, like that. Whoops. No, I knew what you're talking about. I would just want to boast and be a little annoying little shit. I do think actually. It is a good question because
Quick.
Oh, sorry. Okay. In general, men, but that's because I have a smaller sample size of men. So that's an average why it's higher.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry for being too exhaustive.
Who do you like to give head the most?
Women.
Top or bottom?
Switch.
Sure. Have you ever had a threesome?
Yes.
Was it?
It sucked. It really quickly because we were like 3 minutes. We like 5 minutes together, and then the two of them spent like an hour together without involving me, which absolutely sucked. And I was just too awkward to leave.
Was it another couple?
Yes, it was an existing couple beforehand, so they already had like a relationship for like 3 years.
Straight couple.
Straight couple, yes.
Sure, of course. Have you ever had an orgy?
I haven't.
Would you join mine?
Okay, really quickly, because when I first came to Leeuwarden, you said like, okay, but just in case, and like we're not having sex, right? That's the first thing you told me when I first visited you in Leeuwarden.
I don't think I've said that.
Yes, you have. I'm really certain of it.
Sex, or like did I just ask about your intention?
That's a good question, actually.
I think I've asked about intention.
Yes, but you insinuated at least that you were not looking for that intention.
Yes.
Okay, so in these know where I'm coming from, but still, I don't know.
Okay. What's your current fantasy?
Ooh, good one. Exploring still. Like I'm open for a lot of things, but I'm really not sure where to begin because there's so many things that you can actually like. So I'm not really sure. Perhaps BDSM stuff, but being actually on the receiving end instead of like the perpetrator.
All right. I was gonna ask what's the best sex with a guy or a girl, but we just heard what
you just heard.
Going back to Christianity, do you still believe in heaven?
No.
Would you date someone that is a Christian?
It's not a hard pass, but I just think our worldviews would be too different to agree on something.
All right. When's the last time you went to a church?
For a sermon?
Yeah.
Because 19.
When you were 19?
Yes.
Sure.
Then COVID happened. So that's before COVID.
Do you think having sex in a church would be blasphemy?
Yes, but that's also why it would be good.
Yeah. So would you say you still respect the church?
As an institution, I wouldn't think so, but it just doesn't sit right with me. But I don't have like a hate against Christians, but I just think it would be cool just to do it just for the story. Like if I were doing something stupid, I would do it just because it would be a cool story.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Is there a specific gender that turns you on more?
I do think I have a preference for like femme-presenting people.
All right. Those were my questions. Thank you very much for having me in your bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
It was great catching up with you also. We don't see each other that much.
Nope. Yep.
And now you filled me in on
the blanks.
On the blanks. Yes.
I'm glad that I could be of help.
Yes. Yeah. So let's get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for listening and watching. Once again, I'm your host Silke. This was Niek. And if you would like to know more about the other perspective of the stories that Niek was just sharing, next episode we will have his girlfriend Isa here. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram. It's how_was_it_podcast. Slide in our DMs, send nudes, whatever you want to do. We'd love it. See you next time. Bye.